Hello everyone, how are you today? This is no longer Aluminum Tarot, we are now Crucible Tarot. And there's a good reason for that, which I will explain in a future little rant or rave posted on this website. That said, it's good to kind of do a fresh rebrand so that way I can understand precisely what I'm trying to accomplish with this channel. And this is no longer a channel about, oh, airy fairy, love and light. No, we don't do that at this channel. And furthermore, we make sure that we are looking squarely into the darkness so that we can then bring the light and define it. And so, that's basically how we do things at this place. And that said, it feels fresh, it feels new, and it's almost like a rejuvenating kind of feel to it, where I can actually focus on what matters, not so much about the mundane, telling people what's coming into their life or aspects about their finances, romance, and stuff like that. Those are good things, but I want to focus this channel more so on the spiritual aspects and the occult studies that I have been practicing for many, many years. And I want to kind of fine tune that information, make sure that I can recall it, and then additionally use it to help others. So that said, let's carry on. If you like what you see here, please be sure to give a like, share, subscribe, ding the notification bell as you see fit. And feel free to support the channel in whichever way you see, whichever way that you think you would be comfortable with. And yeah, let's keep this train moving. So before we get started, I'm going to show you that we'll be using oracle decks from several people in addition to a new tarot deck. The first is going to be the Oracle of Moonology. This is the Moonology Oracle deck, of course. Yeah. And this is by Yasmin Boland, which is a very, very popular kind of oracle deck used across the tarot community, especially online here. And then we'll be tapping into the Angelarium Oracle of Emanations deck, which is absolutely one of my favorites, along with the Steampunk Tarot and a few others. And then we have a new special guest for this. We have the Warrior of Love. This is a tarot card deck by an author, Luna Marie, and she has created this deck. I actually had the pleasure of meeting her in Watkins Books in London about a month ago, and she was very kind and also very knowledgeable about the tarot, and she was promoting her work across different parts of the UK. So if you would like to, just go ahead, I'll include her information in the description box below, so that way you can check out her work, get her tarot card decks, and also it's a good way to kind of spread the message, pay it forward a bit. So that said, we're going to crack on with this, and we'll start to see what is going to take place for you. This is going to be for Capricorn, Sun, Moon, and Ascendant for the month of June 2026, as before. And for your Angelarium deck, you have Zachariel, which is the Angel of Memory. If you can see all of these intertwining tentacles coming across, Zachariel, this is definitely an angel that tells us about interconnectivity between the past, present, and future, and that the weaving of time is an ongoing event. It is one of the ways that we measure our existence in this world. And to be fair, memory is connected to Cancer, which kind of stores the Akashic records of the universe and all things within the, phenomenal realm. And we need these records that way we can recall what has taken place in the past and use that to guide ourselves into the future. I think it was Bob Marley that said, if you don't know your history, you don't know where you're coming from. And it gives you a reference point. And Zachariel is kind of coming into this reading to kind of tell us that it is important for us to remember the past, present, and future of our own lives, so that way we can guide ourselves to the correct pathway forward. And not only that, but also to remember the actions of others, to remember your own actions, recall those, and then so that way you can learn from them. You can learn from the mistakes of other people as well. And it's important for us to keep that memory sharp. And so what we see here, I think I was talking about Hazma, which is one of the Mashit, or the destroyer angels, who had a halo that was surrounding his head like this, almost like a fedora. Whereas you can clearly see in this one, it is behind the head. And so, and by doing that, it goes by the traditional type of halos that are seen throughout the Abrahamic traditions. And I need to study a little bit more about what that implies. But for me, what it tells us about honoring the orthodoxy and being able to have that support the mind. You know, the memory of Zachariel supports the mind in the back. You know, you also see photos, especially of Christ. If you see like this little thing I got in Greece, Christ and the Madonna, they have the halos supporting the back of the head as well. It keeps us conscious of things that are cyclically happening in our world and how all things are interconnected. So I think it's really important for people to observe that. There could be more on that. I'll look into it a bit later on. But what we'll see here is additionally, with time, we understand that it is important for us to recognize time as our greatest asset. There is nothing on this planet more valuable than time. And what I oftentimes tell people is that if you had the difference, you know, people will say like time is money, but you can only earn one of them. You cannot earn the other. So you can be in excellent shape, you can get stage 5 pancreatic cancer and just leave the planet. Whereas if you have a lot of time on this planet, you can spend it doing the things that make your existence wholly worthwhile. And it's important to recognize that. You know, we've seen people in this world, Steve Jobs, for example, that exactly happened to him. He was in great shape, doing well, then gets diagnosed early with pancreatic cancer. Rather than treating it, he uses some alternative holistic practices, but succumbs to his disease. This is one of the world's richest men on the planet. And time does not care about how you feel, who you are, and how valuable you think you are. When it's time for you to leave the planet, Azrael comes and takes you. And we all know who Azrael is, the 12-winged, the manifold-winged archangel of death, which is, as I said in one of the previous ones, is the one that kind of scoops you up and takes you away after Samuel has his way with you. It's like, yeah, pretty brutal stuff there. But with that said, our memory is infinitely and inextricably linked to time, whether it is the universal memory, which is the Akashic records, or if it's our personal memory, which comes from our own mind and body and spirit. So as we're going through a lot of our infinite life experiences through the process of reincarnation and learning and having our soul conditioned by our physical experiences, which simulate experience throughout the world that we are interacting with, so that we can learn, we can grow and develop. The memory is eternal, even your own. And that's why we do past life recollections, things like that. But I'll quit ranting about that. We'll go into the next part. We talk a little bit about the moonology cards that we have here. A time for healing, which is the balsamic moon. And then adjustments are required. It's the 3rd quarter moon. So I remember Gemini, I believe, had the 1st quarter moon. So we are talking about adjustments. When you are dealing with a project, you do have certain gateways. You have moments in which you need to pause and reflect on the progress of that that process that you're undertaking, whether it is building something, whether it is, undertaking a service for someone. We have to stop and pause at certain periods in our life or in periods in the process so that we can know whether or not we should continue, whether we should keep going. So in the third quarter moon, it's kind of like one of those gateways, and it's telling us to make the final adjustments before something is wrapped up with the full moon. And so that means maybe like within a few weeks, maybe 3 weeks, that's when these things would probably happen. Additionally, for the time for healing balsamic moon, this is right at the crest in which we start to see the moon appear. You may have, in many ways, gone through a bit of an emotional purge or experienced something quite negative, which is now calling upon you to heal from that experience. And for you, you're in the initial stages of doing that. So you're remembering these situations that took place in your life, or an individual who may have done that to you as well. And by doing this, as you're healing, it could be potentially important for you to adjust your way of looking at that situation. So that way you can get a comprehensive understanding of it. And then you can go through the process of releasing the pain that was caused or inflicted upon you. I think it's going to be important for you to do that, because with this, as you see, this is going to be the process. You see the balsamic moon starting, and then this is nearly wrapping it up with the third quarter moon. So you may have been spending time alone, reflecting on what has taken place. You have been doing your own things that you like to do to heal yourself after going through a difficult situation, and replaying the memories in your mind as to what happened and trying to use that to dissect and understand the situation in its entirety. And by doing so, this helps you to move forward with your life. Now, we'll look into the tarot to kind of understand this in a little bit better light. So we have the Emperor in the reverse, clarified by the Three of Swords. So what we have with the Emperor is, of course, Aries, but then Three of Swords is Saturn in Libra. This is the restriction of your ability to relate to other people due to a traumatic experience or an event. So as you see it, in the recent past, there could have been somebody who was a bit of a control freak. Emperor usually implies a person or a strong aspect of your life, because it is major arcana. With the Emperor in the reverse, it could have felt like you lost control over a situation, or a person was being quite difficult, a bit of a control freak, a bit of a bully in many ways. And this has caused that Three of Swords moment in your life where you are now reeling from the pain that situation has brought about. It could be that, or it could also be that, you feel like things are becoming a bit topsy-turvy in your own life because of the pain that you have experienced from the past. And you are healing through that process, because this does oftentimes speak about it. Three of Swords is just experiencing the catastrophe. But it is also about healing from that catastrophe, because after the Three of Swords, you go into the Four of Swords, which is the point in which you take a step back, you heal, you find sanctuary, and then you continue to reflect on the Ace of Swords that is supporting you and the Three of Swords that is dangling above you. You can look at the Rider-Waite deck for that to kind of get the full meaning of what that implies whenever you look at that tarot deck. So again, you find that there's either a person who is a bit mean, rude, a bit of a bully, a bit of a control freak, person who's a bit chaotic, and this person caused you quite a bit of pain. And of course, we've all had those types of situations in our life where we have been around people that we thought were either our friends, our lovers, our family members, and they betray us. Three of Swords does indicate a source of betrayal. So in doing that, this person is the one who inflicted the pain and the damage on you. Now, that said, we move into the next part, which is the Five of Swords, but we found it on its side. And this is clarified by the Six of Swords in the reverse. So what I'm looking at one of the things that really upsets you about this situation is that it makes you feel a sense of failure, that what you did was not enough to sustain the relationship, and that what eventually did take place was the Five of Swords instead. This is Venus in Aquarius, so it's not a very good placement to have your Venus. However, what we do know about it, we talk about feeling a failure, a sense of failure in your relationships due to the fact that it always ends in a very cutthroat, one-sided situation. And perhaps this person you felt was doing that. Now, because it's on its side, it seems like you nipped it in the bud before it did take place, and cause even more pain and suffering. But what I'm looking at here, when I see this card, I see a person who just feels defeated. Because the Five of Swords is not always someone who is trying to win at all costs or trying to, bully or defeat someone. Sometimes when you get the Five of Swords, you are the other person. You're the person who's walking away, who has lost your swords. And the assailant is the one that you're dealing with. So in saying that, I get this intuitive feeling like the Six of Wands in the reverse and then the Five of Swords on the side. It gives you an overwhelming sense of failure because of feeling defeated constantly by the people closest to you. People who are very complimentary, because you see here, the two women in this Five of Swords, they're pretty much polar opposites. One's dressed in black, the other's dressed in white. One has white hair, the other has red hair. So one is very yin, as we see on this side, and one is very yang. So possibly for a period, it could have felt like you tried to smooth things over in many ways, in which you felt that it was just good to keep the peace. But now that the full onset of defeat, of attack on your psyche has taken place, that is what's making you feel as if this situation is no longer tenable. And it's a painful thing because, especially when you invest in people, you want to make sure that you are playing your part in the friendship, in the relationship, in the interaction that you have with them. So even in a sense, even if this was like a job, for example, if we look at the Emperor in the reverse, this is like a tyrannical boss, and who caused you pain and suffering, and then that suffering you're reflecting on in the present moment. And then after that, we'll get into the future, but it's that progression from the initial, attack to reflecting on that attack, and then whatever comes next. So you are going through the healing process in this, and this is very clear. As we see, Zachariel is the angel presiding over this reading, which is the angel of memory. You're understanding how all things were connected in this situation. And this is good because in the future, you do have some good energy coming through. You have a Page of Cups. And the Page of Cups, we see that this is connected to It's Cancer, Pisces, and Scorpio many times. But with the Page of Cups, we see this person kind of taking a chance, a leap of faith almost. We get almost like full vibes here. But we have this individual with the seahorse carrying them towards wherever it is that they need to go on an emotional level. So unlike the Knight of Cups, where it is fully taking action on something, this is more of a communication or news of something. So these are normally connected with apologies, conversations to self, if this is an internal dialogue, or conversations between people to try to understand what has taken place and how to heal that situation. And we have this happening because of the Two of Wands. So with the Two of Wands, this is a period of planning. This is a period of reflecting on the next action to take. When you do have two actions to take, there's a duality to it. Similarly to the Two of Swords, there's two things to think about. Two of Pentacles, two things to try to juggle around. And then the, what's the last one? Two of Cups, yeah. Where you share something emotionally with someone else. So in saying that, someone could be planning to maybe communicate to you on a deeper level about these instances that took place in the past, or you could be planning to find a way to heal yourself by having a communication with yourself, an internal dialogue, which many people, according to a survey, simply do not have. Imagine how scary it would be if you were on the level of a person without a conscience, without an internal dialogue to guide them throughout their throughout their daily affairs, throughout their struggles. And this is the reason why I think so many people are crashing out and behaving like, I would say beast, but I don't want to insult the animal kingdom by doing that, because animals do have emotions that are quite profound. Anyone who's owned a dog or a cat recognizes that they have distinct personalities, distinct understanding of right and wrong, hierarchy, things of that nature. Whereas I see a lot of people sinking below the level of beast. And you can see these crash outs on police body cam footage. You can see it in the behaviors of our politicians and of some demographics of people and some, individual people who are also using this type of behavior. But it's important for people to have that internal dialogue. And I think with the Page of Cups, that is precisely what you're doing. You're planning a way to kind of receive closure, clarity, but additionally to pick up your spirits in order for you to feel a little bit better about life after this difficult situation has taken place. And the reason why I'm saying this is whether it is you reaching out to this individual or them reaching out to you, or you trying to overcome an overall situation, we have the Five of Wands. So whenever we have fives, we are talking about Gevira, which is the sphere that guides people in the sphere of severity, of bravery, and of courage. And this is the sphere that presides over this channel as well. When we talk about the Five of Wands, this can indicate arguments, can indicate competition with people. It can also talk about internal conflict, which between the head and the heart, between the mind, body, spirit, things of that nature, it's important for us to kind of be able to tackle that conflict. If you are going to speak to someone else and they're giving you a bunch of grief and stuff, it may just be better for you to let go, because the cards that are actually governing this, the cards that are kind of speaking about this a bit further, it's the Hierophant and the Empress in the reverse. So the Hierophant it's almost like we're trying to come to a conclusion by learning a lesson. Oftentimes we hear about the Hierophant being about structure, order, things of that nature. It's a very Taurian, it's a very strong indicator of someone who has ties to the very past. And we also know that the Hierophant is a teacher, and it is in the Rider-Waite is teaching the Acolytes at the foot of the card and giving them the keys to the universe to unlock the mysteries of that universe. So perhaps what you're doing now is you're learning a lesson about all the times in which you've had these arguments, these struggles, these mental conflicts, either with yourself or with someone else specifically, that you are now trying to bring to a resolution. And you realize that there's no growth in having arguments with petty people. And there's no need to have these internal struggles with yourself. Sometimes it's best to just let those struggles go. Because we'll look at it like this. With the Five of Wands, when you double that, that becomes the Ten of Wands. And when two people at Five of Wands, it just creates that Ten of Wands. It's like that's what you're bringing to the relationship. And this creates the burden that I think it's time for you to now drop. It's not your cross to bear. It's not going to lead to anything substantial. When you get the Empress in the reverse, this is a card of suffocating. This is a card of difficulty conceiving an idea that you wanted to bring to the forefront. This is also the card of stillborn births, abortions and things of that nature, which tell us that the thing you're trying to bring into this world just simply could not come. And perhaps with this relationship, this friendship, or this job, or whatever the Emperor in the verse, is to you, it was all about ego. Perhaps you wanted to stay in this person's life due to a personal ego. I can do this. I can hang on to this person. I'm good enough. I'm smart enough. I don't know. I keep getting that skit from Saturday Night Live. I'm good enough. I'm smart enough. And gosh darn it, people like me. I think that's the kind of mentality that a lot of people who want to kind of entertain toxic relationships tend to have. They predicate their lives on validating themselves by saying, I'm willing and capable of withstanding someone who is an abusive piece of shit who doesn't belong in my life. And all that does is just create the unnecessary stress that you don't want to invite into your life. So I think you're learning the lesson on that. That's where the Hierophant and the Empress in the reverse are coming. What is it that's actually building in your life? What is it that is tearing you down? And this is the internal conflict that is resonating inside of you. But additionally, with the other person, that is the source of the conflict. You know that this isn't worth it, and you know that it's time for you to move on from it. So I'm going to leave it there. I've rambled, I've ranted, I've made a fool of myself, but it's okay because, what good would it do to worry about those types of things? Anyways, thanks so much. This is Crucible Tarot. It's a pleasure to read for you. I hope this has been of some use for you. And for Capricorns dealing with the situation, just drop it. Heal from the situation. Move on. Recognize that you are a full and whole person all by yourself. I will leave you, instead of saying love and light, we're going to keep it 100% with you today. I always end my readings now with this saying, Viam gevura ambula, which is Latin for I walk the path of severity, courage, and bravery. So with that, thank you so much. And until next time, bye now.